Kernersville Reptile Zoo and let him tell you about it because she's far more qualified than me. All right, so what goes on here, Chad?
All right, man. So it's good to see you again.
By the
So
way, Chad is an expert and he gives classes on how to deal with venomous and has all sorts of credentials that I lack.
it's well, a lot of fun stuff that we like, right? And all the good and more spicy individual of snakes and reptiles. But this is the Kernersville Reptile Zoo Medical Center and store. We do have a storefront, as we say in our YouTube channel. We do everything, literally.
Let me just show them. He's got a giant sulcata tortoise. He's got everything, retics, you name it, and all sorts of supplies. That's my...
Oh yeah, we have anything, everything. Basically, we do it all. So as as he said, I do have. As a matter of fact, it's the only training course of its kind on the Eastern Seaboard. We've been doing it for about 15 years now. Since we are a medical teaching facility, we work with and teach and consult vets and vet students and zoo staff and museum staff, and so we're more of a teaching facility and have been for a long time. But the zoo here is just we wanted to bring in stuff that not a lot of places really either have the experience to bring in or have the skill set to bring in green mambas and the only king cobra in the state on exhibit right now.
So how long you guys existed for?
We've been in business fully as a little rescue and rehab center years ago. We started about 22 years ago, and the zoo itself has been here since February 2017 is when we opened. So
what made you first get into reptiles?
Well, I mean, I've been into it since a kid, so I did former things, but I was always into reptiles, loved them, and went to Florida, and with my grandparents, they took me to Florida one time, and I got to sit down and hold an alligator with a snake around my neck, and I was hooked. So it was hooked, loved it, and of course, I love cobras, so the cobras is what got me, really more fascinated by the deadly stuff, as it were. And I mean, it's all fun. Man, we enjoy this. This is all about conservation.
What's your favorite animal?
Stingray.
Really?
Yeah. Well,
don't tell Steve Robert's family.
No. So anytime somebody asks me, they're like, "What's your favorite reptile?" Stingray, because I can't pick a reptile. I mean, I love them all for many different reasons. I love the hard-shelled animals. I love, the cobras. I love the Burmese. And ball pythons, dumb as a sack of bricks.
And Chad has a king cobra too.
So,
all right.
No, I mean, I love each and every one for their own specific reasons. So it's hard for me to choose a specific reptile that I love. Just that's the top one. So I always just say stingray. So.
And how do you safely handle a snake, a venomous snake?
So we don't do the free handling foolishness, at least not for open public. If we were working with milking, if they're doing milking, or if they're trying to do something for science, then we show them how to do more of that hands-on stuff. But I mean, we just do can-tell methods. I don't usually use tongs, the old adage, tongs breaks bones kind of concept.
Yeah.
We teach people how to work with snake tongs if they need to, like public service workers and stuff like that. But no, we just use regular old hooks and hook and tail method and traps and transport boxes. And
they're all saying hi to you, by the way.
All different kinds of things.
Everyone's saying hi to you.
Good to see everybody. I'm seeing the backside of his phone, so I don't see who's saying. So.
You want to come back there? Or should I just go?
Yeah, come on. Come on.
I think... Oh, wow, this is a big albino berm.
Yeah, it's one of my breeding girls.
It's too bad you can't see how big they are on the phone, because this snake's head is like the size of my fist.
Yes, he's a big girl.
And the rest of it is bigger than every part of it.
Yes, he's a big girl.
So... when it comes to albinos, do they need to be careful of the sun?
So, not so much the sun. Yes, you can see, especially in albinos in anything, boas, cobras, berms, ball pythons, they're lacking in pigmentation. So, under intense, the color in their skin starting to pink. Think of a sunburn. Issue in Burmese pythons when it comes to the albinism is the albinism gene creates a lung defect.
It's a recessive gene. Huh?
Correct. So they're more prone for wild in the Congo, in the Amazon, in the Asian rainforest, whatever. Humidity is grand out there, but there's air movement. In things like this, it's stagnant, moist air, so they're breathing it in all the time. Gotcha. So you have to be very careful about how you do the humidity.
What do you do if they get a respiratory infection?
So, I mean, there's a couple things that you can do. I mean, of course, a veterinary practice prescribe antibiotics. That's their first go-to
Like
because it's
Fortaz?
money. Yeah. And Fortaz is a whole lot better than Baytril. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Baytril
Oh,
is
it's much. I
trash.
found that too. Yeah.
Trash.
Yeah, it
Which
did nothing.
Fortaz is also known as ceftazidime. Okay, so there's two names it's known by. But you can do. I mean, of course, the vet's going to go to that route because that's where they make money. It's drugs. Okay, but you can also do things like cooking method. Getting them a little bit warmer, dropping the humidity, upping the temperature, and it's called the cooking method. It just dries those lungs out. Now, I don't necessarily suggest that right out of the gate. You can do. There's a lot of breeders that'll do what's called the Vicks vapor rub method. So think of
I've
Vicks,
done that. I've done that.
Vicks in the shower. I mean, it helps kind of clog that out. So there's many different things you can do for an early stage respiratory. But if it's like a bad respiratory infection, yeah, unfortunately, you're probably going to have to go the antibiotic route.
All right,
So.
let's take a little walk. Huh? So let's see what he's got over here. What do we have over here?
So the Asian water monitor, way up there on her landing.
Oh, we can't see her. Maybe we should keep walking a little bit. Oh, this guy's cute. What is he called? A Florida soft shell turtle. Well, these are mostly snake people. They're gonna want to see snakes.
All right, I'll
Which
tell you
way
what.
are we going?
Let's see if we can do this. Okay.
Is that where you had the coral snakes? Oh, here's a copperhead.
Really cool broadband.
So, what locality is this guy?
So it's gonna be Texas. I believe it's Texas, the Texas locality.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So their bite is not fun, but it's not that bad, right?
No, it's not bad at all.
Oh, here's where.
I've had the Malaysian king cobra in the past. This one right here is the Sumatran.
Is that the former owner?
He is still feeding on snakes.
Can they be healthy if they're like transferred onto rodents or whatever? It's okay.
Actually, it's actually a little bit more nutritional. A lot of the times when you see a lot of keepers that have big, real thick, fat king cobras, they're actually eating rats because they're higher in fat. Snakes are not real high in fat and real high in like excessive amounts of nutritional content versus like rats or rabbits or things like that.
So in the wild, do they eat just snakes, or
most of the time it's mostly snakes.
So we don't always need to emulate what's happening in the wild.
Not necessarily. No.
That's a good point. How often do you him?
Him, yeah.
How often do you feed him?
As often as I have the snakes available. So, because sometimes he still takes his native Asian snakes, like some of the really expensive ones, the red-tailed green rat snakes, the Taiwanese beauty snakes,
that is expensive.
radiated rat snakes. He will take other stuff. They will take retics and burms and boas, and I mean, so they're snake eaters.
What's his name?
His name is Solomon.
That's Solomon. He's dope, man. He's dope. How old is he?
That one's about 9 years old.
Got all sorts of cool stuff.
There's probably one of their.
Oh, it's a red tegu, I think. Tell me I'm right.
Yep. That's the red tag.
And here he's got some regular tegus.
Pretty jungle. Well, with the Burmese, it's muscle contraction. So think of where you start doing this over.
It's hot, yeah.
Hot. Same concept applies.
Oh, these are beautiful. Jungle carpet python. Look at that. Look at that. That's Sebastian. Oh wow, that's an iguana. That's a big boy. You can't tell when you're looking at a YouTube video how big an animal is. A big boy.
He's big.
Venomous display room is where we're headed.
Oh yes.
With the man himself.
So here's some of my favorites. One of my breeding gaboon females, big girl.
Is a gaboon. There's more in here, right? Weren't there?
The males down here. We have them separated this past year because I didn't want to produce them together.
Do you sometimes? Hey, what's up, Katie? Do you sometimes breed?
Yes, they produced 2 years before.
It's beautiful.
And here's one that wears a big, really big cottonmouth. Big girl. Nasty temper. That's probably the nastiest tempered one I have back here.
Is there a different? Is there? That pretty?
There's now heavily, but the temper snakes. The higher in elevation you go, they're darker, so they can draw suntan faster. But they don't need to be that blackish color when they're in Florida.
So they're suntan.
That's it. So you'll have. I mean, there will be variants of colors for that specific reason. Here's some of the cool oddball stuff.
All right.
Russell's Viper.
So this is something you guys are gonna love. You don't want to get bit by this guy. You would have a terrible day. There he is. Oh, I didn't mean to scare you, buddy. What would happen if you got bit?
It would suck. Tremendously.
Yeah, it would suck big time.
Tremendously.
You think you'd die?
No, not necessarily. Not with the availability that we have for anti-venom nowadays. I doubt it.
Yeah, sorry. I know I need a camera. My phone sucks.
Yeah, that's a beautiful, beautiful snake.
He is so beautiful. You don't see them around as much, you know?
No, you don't. They're not commonly kept, even in captivity anymore.
They say he's cool.
So here's probably one of the prettiest of the mamba species. It's the eastern green mamba. So the eastern greens don't have any of the black in them like the Jamesons or the
Where is
Western.
his head? I have
Right there.
Oh, wow. I got a good view.
Right there. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful bright green.
I love this guy. So this is a bigger boy than mine, I think. Is there a difference in temperament between Westerns and Easterns or Jamesons?
No, they're about the same. So typically speaking, of course your blacks are the nastiest. Most people know that.
Right.
The Jamesons are kind of in between.
It doesn't mean that in a racial way.
No, the black. Yeah, no, not the humans. The black mamas. So, because I know just as bad a white ones.
No, I know him. He's good. He's a good guy. Don't worry.
So the blacks are probably they're definitely the deadliest. They're the fastest, so they're one of the fastest snakes on the planet as well. But they're also probably the most aggressive. The Jamesons are less aggressive, but still deadly. I mean, all of the mambas are deadly.
Do the blacks live in a different terrain? Like, are they less inclined to be arboreal?
Semi-savanna. And no, they're still they're good climbers. No, they're all incredibly good climbers. And they can shoot up trees and limbs and things like that very, very quickly if their ability allows them. So,
which one's your favorite?
Back here,
Yeah.
I'd almost have to say the green. Yeah, I'd have to say she's one of my favorites.
You can't go wrong with the green.
You're not going to see him very well down there, but another one of my favorites is this red spitting cobra.
Yeah.
Because he is bright.
This guy's red. Beautiful.
Right down there next to the door. Let's see.
I'll try to get...
There's several different styles of red, types of red. You have a lower red, and then as they get older, it kind of dulls out. It's not quite so red. You have localities like this that they're red, but then as they get older, it becomes very much.
So when they spit, do they ever spit into prey, or is that just a defensive mechanism?
It's a defense mechanism. It's meant to go for the eyes. So think about it this way: if I take your eyes out, you can't get me. Kind of
Please
concept.
don't.
No, exactly. So I mean, it's the same concept as a human with pepper spray, or an animal that goes for the eyes. Right. That's also why you have some animals that have mock eyes. That way, the animal goes for the mock eyes.
Like a monocle, maybe.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, this is a beautiful snake. Well, did you have that? What was over there? You had a forest cobra over there?
So the Egyptian's over here. The snouted is over here.
Oh, the Egyptian. He looks like Larry. I have a Haja myself. So, do you think these guys should be classified as forest cobras? Well, they used to be, no?
Well, here's the one thing I think funny. It seems like everybody wants to have their name attached to something. Everybody wants to be famous for something, popular for something. So you're constantly redefining species. You're constantly going, oh, well, we're going to make this a new species so that I can attach my name to it, or I can say I discovered something. Okay, right. And it drives me absolutely crazy. It's like if there's a difference in biological makeup or venom makeup, then okay, fine, it may be a different species. Right. Then maybe we need to classify it as something as a subspecies. But a lot of people just keep reclassifying things just because they want to feel important and they want their name attached to
Do you find it annoying that a lot of people on YouTube try to get cobras to hood up?
It depends on how it's done. I mean, if they're doing it for just literally for entertainment, yes. If they're doing it for an educational purpose, now how do you define that? Well, I guess that's up to each individual beholder. I think it's okay to allow them and to get them to do some hooding as long as they're not striking. I mean, getting animals to strike at you and actually busting their faces on glass and things like that, no, that should not be done. But I mean, if you have a way, like with my king, if I've got a way just to get him to stand up like this, no, I don't think that's anything, because that's just a defense mechanism for him.
Do they hood up when they eat?
When they get done, yes, they can. And a lot of times they will. They're in food mode, so they do tend to be a little bit more what we call defensive, not
tend to get like a feeding frenzy almost, no?
That's it. Yeah.
Probably the worst time to handle
absolutely.
All right, so here he has a snouted cobra.
The snouted, that's a big one hanging out down there on the bottom.
Now this guy is beautiful. I hope we can see his head. Hey, baby. No, we can't see his head, but he might be in blue. I love this snake. I come to this place, I just stare at them. Yeah, such beautiful things. I think there was a forest cobra here that I think he might have got a bit old.
Yes, our forest cobra was about 20 years old. So yeah, we pulled him off exhibit.
He retired.
He is retired, yes.
He's gone into a new field. So, oh, this is an albino monocle that looks like Organic. Hold on a monocle.
Oh yes. Yeah. Well, and they're smarter too. So
Which one?
the specs. The Indian cobras are quite a bit smarter than
I prefer
monocles. Monocles are very predictable. I mean, you should not become complacent with any venomous snake. Ever.
Right.
You know, that's just a fun of the venomous world. Now, I wouldn't treat it like
Yeah,
like
they're
that.
everywhere.
But they're very derpy. And by and large, most of the time they're very cage aggressive. But when you get them out on the hook, it's like, oh, what do I do now? Oh.
Yeah, when they're down, yeah.
Every once in a while. That one over there, we named her Psycho Chick. She's crazy. She's legitimately, I mean, she's...
Oh, this one's out.
Yes. So, she's the only pistol that I've had when it comes to monocle cobra.
This one's not an albino. It's beautiful. This is full grown, no?
Yes. Yeah, that's full grown.
I've always liked this guy. What's him?
Her name is Psycho Chick.
Oh, you just told me. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Psycho Chick. All right, what else do we got here?
Let's see. Here's a pretty puff adder. So you can see it right there. See the head right there, just the other side of the rock.
Oh, there we go.
Yep, they got it in their view now.
So what can you tell us about that? The Bitters family.
So one of the cool things about puff adder and this family, but one of the things that I like about these guys is they're not quite as tolerant as a gaboon viper. And they'll kind of get into that almost rattlesnake-esque position, but they'll cock that head down.
Yeah.
They get this real hard huffing. And
Yeah, I've
puffing.
noticed that myself.
It is real hard, and that's all it is a warning. It's like the rattlesnakes rattle, the cobra hooding up. That's all it is warning. But these guys can be very, very testy, very testy.
Do you find them to be a little bit underappreciated compared to gaboon vipers?
Oh yes, I've had many different colors of puff adders, and they're amazing to me.
Yeah,
absolutely.
and yet
love
everyone's a
puff
gaboon.
adders.
Why is that? You figure the size?
Well, everybody likes the colors of the gaboon too, of course. And then you're talking like the rhinoceros viper or the Uturi forest rhino viper. They're just not as colorful, but I mean, I find them fascinating.
Yeah, right. And then there's the gabino and a. Do you like the colors on a rhino?
I do. And of course, anybody that's in the industry long enough knows that the rhinos are a lot harder to keep. They're a little bit stressier. That's why they started coming out with the gabinos, because you throw the size and the hardiness of the gaboon, but then you have that color from the rhino, which gives you a little bit more of a hardy.
Are the rhinos so much more money? I mean, I think they're at least double, because of the rarity or the color.
Well, and color and rarity. I mean, some of them are locality. Like I said, there's one called the Uturi forest, and they're only from the Uturi forest region, and it's some of the brightest colors that you'll ever see on a snake. I mean, it's amazing colors. But a lot of the color has a lot to do with that. Yeah.
So you find the disposition of puff adder to be a bit different.
They're a little bit more. They're definitely a little bit more defensive. We call it defensive. The gaboons are very tolerant. I mean, you know that. You could almost walk on them in a lot of cases, and they just don't move. They're not going to do too much. These guys, they won't put up with a whole lot. It's kind of like rattlesnakes. Yeah,
and they turn more. It seems much easier than say a rattlesnake or whatever.
Yeah,
which
they're
makes you wonder about free handling it or handling it at all.
Oh yeah. So we have a Mojave, we have a blacktail, we have a couple together, prairies down here on the bottom.
So the Mojave has a neurotoxin and a hemotoxin, no?
Correct. It's the only neurotoxic rattlesnake in North America.
Let me ask you a really important question. How can someone differentiate a Western from a Mojave? So they know to get the right anti-venom.
It's everything. So here's kind of the key concept to that. Some way, somehow.
Excuse me 1 second. I'm sorry. Are we in North Carolina?
North Carolina, yes.
Northern?
Yes, we are in North Carolina.
Yeah, we're in Northern North Carolina in Kernersville.
It's called the Piedmont Triad region of North Carolina.
Yeah. Just tell them the name of the place again.
All right, so this is Kernersville. It's between Winston, Greensboro, and High Point, but it's called Kernersville. Kernersville Reptile Zoo and Medical Center.
The guy goes, no shit? No, why would he shit you? So we were talking about the difference between the Mojave and the Western, which is it's hard to tell them apart, but they have different venoms.
It is. One of the things that I have found with the Western Diamondbacks is that they will have more of a grayish color. You're going to have more of a diamond pattern to it, but also there's going to be hard black and white stripes down it by the tail.
Yeah, so are they wider apart, the white stripes, than they are on the Western?
Yes, exactly. So, and as far as the anti-venom goes, Crowfab treats everything. The only thing that Crowfab doesn't treat is Gila monster bite and the coral snake.
So Crowfab will treat the neurotoxic component?
Absolutely, it treats that as well. Absolutely.
Interesting. So if someone is bit, the typical person is not going to be able to tell one from the other, right? So it doesn't really matter in terms of the treatment.
By and large, and that's kind of the key thing. I mean, it does matter it helps medical staff, toxicologists. It helps them to know what people are bit by, because there's going to be a difference in level of LD50 toxicity level from a copperhead to a timber rattlesnake, from a copperhead to a cottonmouth, from a copperhead to a black-tailed rattlesnake, or a speckled rattlesnake, or a Mojave, or
does that matter to the treatment?
It will, and it can also be based off of kind of what the medical staff needs to be looking out for.
Right.
You know, necrosis, adverse health problems, allergic reactions.
Right,
you know,
right.
things.
Well, how should, let's say, someone go hiking? How should they study to prepare? Like, is there something about the venomous?
Just be observant. Most people get bit when they're not observant. Right. Snakes are going to hide in plain sight. They try and hide in plain sight because, I mean, obviously we're much bigger than them. I use this as an example. If we go to the zoo in Asheboro, right, and I walk up and punch a rhinoceros in the mouth, it ain't going to do me a whole heck of a lot of good, okay? Right. So it doesn't do much good for something that size to come up and tangle with you and I, right?
So otherwise they would mess with a person, correct?
The key thing is they sit hiding in plain sight, trying and hoping that you don't see them or you don't come over. They start rattling when you get too close to go, hey, I'm here, just go around me, leave me alone. Most people get bit when they're trying to mess with the snake.
Right.
The other, let's say 45%, 50% of the time is accidental. You're reaching down, maybe you drop something on the ground when you're hiking. Right. You walk just slightly and you stick your foot somewhere, okay, and then it pops it. You didn't know it was there, it pops it. Right. So the key thing is being observant. That's the key thing. I mean, you know, if you're hiking, there's so many different things that medical staff could tell you. Really, I would tell you to consult with your doctor before giving any kind of advice. Because each person's health system is going to be totally different, and a doctor can tell you, you know, kind of what may happen with you if you were to get hit.
Let me just say, this is not the Western, this is the Mojave. I wish I can get a better shot of his tail. Yeah, would you say this guy's a little bit light colored from Mojave?
Yep. Yeah, she's a really, really light color.
So is there a difference in temperament between the Atrax and the Mojave? I mean, between the Western and the Mojave?
Westerns do tend to be more temperamental, because there's usually, when it comes to rattlesnake bites, at least last year and the last several years that I've paid attention to, there have been more bites by Western Diamondback than all the others. There's more bites by Copperhead than all of them. We know this. Right. But the Western Diamondback does tend to be more responsible for more envenomations.
Are there just more Western Diamondbacks?
They're just everywhere.
Right.
And a lot of people think about it this way. And you brought up a good point. When people are hiking, they're way out of the way. So whether Texas, whether, you know, lower California, whether Nevada, whatever the case may be, a lot of people when they're hiking, they're way out of the way. So they're out in rattlesnake territory. Right. So when they get hit, they're a long way from help.
I hate to ask you this, but out of people who are handling in captivity, what % would you say are inebriated? I mean, it would seem, you know, it's unfortunate.
A lot of them get, you know, do the old adage of here in the South is here, hold my beer and watch this kind of concept.
So what would you say to these people?
Well, I mean, statistic win motion. I mean, I don't sugarcoat things in the first place. So, I mean, that's stupidity. You're an idiot. You know, if you go getting drunk or go drinking and you start handling something like that, you're an idiot. Yeah. You know, that's just stupid. And not to mention the fact you're an idiot for two reasons. One, you're putting stuff into yourself, or potential of putting venom into yourself that doesn't need to go in there. Number two, you put bad marks on the industry that we love.
Exactly.
And it hurts the keepers.
It's hard to keep statistics on it, but you know, it's common sense. And
I mean, realistically speaking, we don't see very many envenomations in the country in the first place per year of exotics, because I do actually work with some medical staff in that. So I would say probably, I don't know, 15%, maybe 20% of the people that get hit were inebriated in some form or fashion. Right. Most of them were probably of full sober-minded. They were just
to have somebody with you who's looking out for your best interest.
When you're working, and one of the things that we teach in our course, when you're working something like this or crocodile, you should never.
What's the benefit of having a protocol with you? What is a protocol?
Protocols involve several different things. It could involve a skate, and you know what your procedures would be if a venomous snake escapes. It's going to have emergency numbers like animal control, your local emergency room contact.
A device one. Is there one you could just buy, or you come up with it yourself?
No, most people come up with it themselves. Yeah, most people come up with it themselves. So I mean, it's not a matter of, you know, they're devising something or they're going off of something that was, you know, just somebody created. A lot of folks will go off of, if I get bit.
Should you have a different protocol for each snake?
No, not necessarily. I mean, each snake is going to have its own envenomation protocol that a medical staff may look at. But as far as a protocol, For different species of snakes, no, not really. Because I mean, if one escapes, then you're going to do the same thing. Look for it.
Do you find that doctors know enough about envenomation?
Oh heck no, no. I've seen way too many doctors, just standard ER doctors, overdose patients, even on crowfat, even on local stuff. So no, there's not enough knowledge in professionalism and professional medical situations and institutions that know how to deal with this kind of stuff on a regular basis.
So what would you say to people who have the more exotic snakes like cobras and so on that wind up in an ER?
You need to, we tell
you're
folks,
gonna die.
You better be prepared. Now there are people that do have bite protocols that can help. There's people that I do like in this industry and people I don't like in this industry that work specifically, and that's all they do is this. The best one, hands down, the best one is the Venom One team out of Miami, Florida, and they actually do consult.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a great resource. Venom One out of Florida, Miami-Dade Fire and Rescue's Venom One team. That's a great resource for people that deal with venomous snakes.
Just by the way, are these westerns?
Prairie.
Oh, these are prairie rattlesnake, and you can even see that they look a little bit like so, I mean, if you're a camper, you're going hiking, it's going to be a little hard to tell. So would you say they should try to you think it's a good idea for them to try to get a picture of the snake, keep the snake, kill the snake?
Definitely don't keep it because they ain't gonna allow it on the bus no more. I mean, it's not the '60s, so you don't put
the Uber drivers don't like that.
So if they could take a picture of it, yes, that's always the best thing. Is just take a picture. Right. Take a picture. And the easiest thing we tell folks is, I know it's for some folks it's hard because some folks have never been in life and death, like super life and death situations.
Right.
So they're not used to that kind of adrenaline rush and things like that. But keeping the heart rate down is going to be key because the faster your heart pumps, the faster that venom is flowing through the body.
Right.
So take a picture. That way, at least they know what's going on, and try and keep calm.
We tell people to stay calm, but it's got to be hard.
It's super hard. I mean, even when you're in and have been in adrenaline pumping situations before, it can be very hard because you have to calm yourself down. You have to think. You have to go, all right, I have to slow my heart rate down. I have to calm myself down for a minute. Think about what I'm going to do. Think about what I need to do, and don't just go scream and just freak out.
Let me ask you a question from one of the viewers here.
Sure.
Zendo's Critters. He said, if I wanted to take a venomous hook training course, would you have any suggestions?
Yeah, I mean, we have the only one on the East Coast of its kind. So
you weren't here. I don't think Zendo, you were here, but he's in North Carolina in Kernersville.
Yeah. We've got. I mean, there are other. Okay, so let me do it this way. There are some like I think the Rattlesnake Conservancy does just some kind of little rattlesnake course. We have the only course of its kind on the East Coast that's been in operation for over 15 years. But it's not just dealing with venomous snakes. We do state laws. We do human first aid. If you get envenomated, what do? We do a lot of hours of medical things that we teach vets and vet students and stuff how to deal with. And then the second day.
Oh, you teach vets? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. We're that does specialize in that, which there's nobody in North Carolina.
Trains the snake.
So most of the only one I know of that might even be close to doing something like that would be NC State University, because they have a full school now, but they do a lot of exotic stuff. They might. I have not heard whether they do or don't, because I have had some dealings with them in the past. Good dealings. No, that's a hit or miss. Okay, so North Carolina, a few years ago, about no tourniquet. And then when the military changed their mind, the military goes, yep, we tourniquet. North Carolina goes, okay, we're going to tourniquet. Now we tourniquet. There's two ways to do this. If you're within 15, 20 minutes from a hospital, especially on something native like a copperhead or something like that, there's not really a need to. Because if you do tourniquet, there's a good chance necrosis is going to happen because you're keeping all of it localized to that area. So it's going to blister, it's going to fester, it's going to do a lot of that stuff. So skin grafting and debrading of the nasty tissue and things like that. But letting it run through your body can cause organ damage.
Right.
So that has to be up to each individual person. I don't proponent for one or the other. I tell folks, if you think you need to throw a tourniquet on, throw a tourniquet on. If you think you're close enough to help and you don't, then you don't. Now, I mean, anybody that's going to have venomous snakes needs to know where the anti-venom is that's closest to them in all the different places. You need to know how long it's going to take you to get help, how long it's going to take you to get anti-venom, what the doctors need to do. You need to talk to your doctors. I mean, unfortunately, they can't do nothing for you and they can't be prepared for you if they don't know what you have.
Right. Estimating them more bite than I realize, and maybe even a bit more venomous.
They hide in clutter, right? And so just people become very haphazard. They get used to their daily routine. They get used to their yard. They go, oh crap, oops, and I get nailed by something. A dog in the face kind of concept, same thing applies. Now, there's never been directly to a copperhead as of last year. There's never been a death due to a copperhead bite directly. Now, adverse health effects from somebody that maybe has diabetes or cancer or whatever. Yes, okay. Alternative effects. But the copperhead is such a low venom yield as far as its toxicity level that, understand, venom's a protein. So our bodies metabolize protein, right? So some people that get bit by a copperhead will have nothing at all happen to them. Some people may have pain. Some people may have headaches. Some people may have nausea. Some people may have bleeding. Some people may have necrosis. Some people may have nothing at all. They may have several of things. You don't know until you get hit.
Yeah, we've seen people that had like terrible reactions, and some had barely any.
Yep, exactly. And that's because it's a protein. It's just a toxic level of protein. So some people's bodies can metabolize that, meaning get rid of it, or can utilize it some way, somehow. And then some people's bodies cannot handle that as easily.
Just if I could just switch topics for a second. When it comes to the red spitter,
when my cottonmouth strikes the glass at somebody or something like that, or you have a cobra that swings at a glass, right? And they leave venom on the glass, then it becomes dry. Well, that then turns into a type of dust if it's scraped or whatever, so it becomes particles. If you start breathing that, remember, venom has to go into the bloodstream.
Right.
It cannot be, you can drink it. As long as it doesn't go to the bloodstream, you can drink it, you can bathe in it, right? Yeah. So when it becomes a particle that then you breathe in that goes into the bloodstream in some way, somehow, then it starts becoming a problem. Then you can become allergic to it. You can become allergic to the antivenom. You can become allergic.
So that's very interesting. So what do you do if you're bit and you're allergic to the antivenom?
Guess what? Absolutely nothing. You either hope you live or it kills you.
And just so people know, is there any antivenom you can take before you're bit?
So there's something called self-immunization. A lot of folks do it. I don't agree with it. Now, and to each his own, and I'm not saying I don't agree with it because it's just, I think, like free handling. I don't agree with the idea behind it in my case, because let's say I do start self-immunizing. Right. Well, let's say all of a sudden I get hit by something and I need antivenom. Let's say all of a sudden I'm now allergic to that antivenom because I've been self-immunizing.
Right.
It doesn't.
Would you say these guys are a bit more immune to sort of common diseases? Like they don't get colds and maybe they don't get cancer as much, and they look pretty good.
In some cases, yes, because venom is used in a lot of really good things. It's natural, okay? It's a natural nerve block. Think of neurotoxin.
Right, and it's an anesthesia, no?
That's it. So hemotoxins are a natural blood thinner. Your cytoxins. So there's so many things that it can do. I mean, venom is great, absolutely, and it's not pharmaceutical synthetic garbage that you're necessarily throwing in your body, right? Yeah. So it does have its uses, absolutely.
Is there hope that venom could be used to treat cancer?
Well, I'm not even going to get on that topic. But
it might not be available.
I would imagine there's a lot of things that would probably treat cancer. Right. But like I said, I'm not even going to get on that topic because it's a difficult topic. That's one that really irritates me because there's cures out there.
Would you recommend that people feed their snakes live or frozen thawed?
So that's situational as well. I mean, if the animal really doesn't need to get into a fight with a live prey, what's the point? Okay. Right. And some folks go, oh well, it helps with the natural breakdown to give this venomous snake, a live animal. Right. They are going to envenomate it, dead or alive. Right. In a lot of cases, when they strike to grab it, they're going to envenomate. Yes, it does start helping down with a little bit of the breakdown of the process, but I mean, snakes' stomach acid is insanely potent in the first place. That's why they can break down hooves and horns and all this other stuff. Right. It's incredibly potent. So I always do it, and I feed both. Okay, I'm a proponent for both. I don't care. I do live, I do dead. I do live for certain ones for specific reasons. I do dead for certain ones.
Does live, is it good in terms of enrichment? We were talking before about how it's not necessary to imitate what happens in the wild. But when it comes to feeding live, is there any sort of benefit that...
I mean, enrichment's one. And of course, think about it this way. Anything that's natural or fresh is the healthiest. When you start freezing stuff, you start killing the natural enzymes in it. Right. Now, that doesn't make it completely unhealthy, but natural or fresh is the healthiest.
Right, gotcha. Do you feed the king live?
No, not anymore.
All right, so this was the Mojave, right?
Yes.
And do you have any Westerns nearby?
Yes.
All right, so let's compare. So take a good look at the Mojave, right? I'm sorry you can't see his tail very well, because that does help. And the scales between their eyes, I believe, helps.
Perfect example is right there at the glass.
Okay, now here we have a Western. Now, would it be fair to say that they're not usually so different in color, or that they are?
Prairies and Mojaves usually tend to be a little bit lighter colored. Now, I have seen Western Diamondbacks. They're a little bit more of a sandy color versus that like small blotches.
This is good.
It's totally different.
All right, so here we have the Mojave, right? Is this the Mojave?
That is the Mojave.
Okay, so now we're going to just take one more look at the Western, and bear in mind that, even though Chad's saying that the treatment is the same, the venom is not.
No, venom is totally different.
Right. So would you say it's more serious to get bitten by a Mojave?
Honestly, I would think it's about equal. I mean, the Western Diamondbacks really aren't that deadly when it comes to their toxicity level. It's just most people, when they get bit, are so far from help.
Right.
So, I mean, there's help for everything. Everything in the United States, nobody should die from a native bite because crow fat is so readily available. Even in your most backwoods little level 5 trauma centers, which is like up at the top of a mountain with almost no medical care, will still have antivenom for at least a little bit of antivenom.
So people who are a bit like, the guys who go to India, I'm going to be in India in August myself. If we're bit by, let's say, a monocle or a spectacled, is it best to come home for treatment or stay there?
Oh no, you're going to, especially if you get bit by a speck, because somebody was just telling me that somebody got nailed. One of these foolish YouTubers got hit while in India by a
speck, in India.
A speck, and it nearly killed him, from my understanding.
Yeah, he lost part of his finger.
So,
but should he have stayed there where they have antivenom available, or should
it's readily available there? Because understand, antivenom is only produced in the country the snake is from.
Right.
There's a 3-year shelf life on it. So a lot of folks know Jim Harrison at the Kentucky Reptiles. They know he does the milking, right? So when Jim and Kristen, primarily Jim, when he's milking these animals, he has to take those vials of venom, and he sends it back to the country of origin that those snakes come from.
Right.
So then they turn it into the antivenom, and then it's reshipped, it's re-imported back over here as antivenom.
Right.
So
it's sort of a tough call though, because it seemed like there in Chandler's case that the antivenom was available, but when he came here, he went through all these surgeries where he wasn't very happy. So
now there's going to be a lot less. I mean, granted, I don't even know what state he's in, and
Florida.
Okay, so he's in Florida, and so I mean, with access to Venom 1, I doubt that it had to do with the venom at that point.
Right.
It was probably adverse reactions to venom, because if he was treated in India, then he was given antivenom over there and treated and dealt with antivenom over there.
Because the thing is, like, I'm sorry to interrupt, but they would have the antivenom, but would they have the medical expertise as much as doctors here in terms of?
Yes, in some cases. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, certain hospitals, like there's certain places in China, there's certain places in Australia, there's certain places in England where they have top-notch medical staff, just like we do. But I mean, also you have to understand, people over there are getting bit by that snake all the time. We are not, so they're used to that kind of treatment, to having to deal with those kind of treatments.
So what role does a toxicologist play in this stuff? Are they doctors?
They are doctors, yeah. The toxicologist, toxinologists and toxicologists are the ones that deal more with
I was going to ask you, what's the difference between a toxinologist and toxicologist?
So they're similar, okay?
They seem very similar to me.
They're actually very, very similar. But it's specialty. It's specialty.
Right,
fields.
the toxicologist is more specialized in venom.
That's it. So it's a specialist field. They specialize in that area of toxicology. So meaning different types of what's the best way to put it?
Venoms and poisons.
The phrase or the actual terminology has left my head because it's been so long since anybody's been asked that one. But like I said, they specialize in that specific genre, okay, of what they work with in that field.
So what's the worst snake to get bit by?
Oh, well, I mean, so, of course, your top 5 is of course, the sea crate would be really the worst. Australia, inland taipan, coastal taipan, tiger, king brown, all those from Australia. But standardly kept black mamba, that's a bad one to get bit by.
That's a bad one.
King cobra is a bad one to get bit by.
What about a saw-scaled?
Saw skills are not great. Russells, puffs. I mean, none of this exotic stuff. I mean, I can't say that, but none of this exotic stuff is great to get bit by. Let me ask you. That's like saying 22 versus 45. Both can kill you, which
So if I could just go into a different thing, what would you recommend as a first non-venomous snake for a kid? I have some kids. I'm a teacher. Some kids in my class been asking, would a corn snake be good, or a Mexican king? Or
so here's what I tell folks. I like colubrids, and I like ball pythons and boas. Okay, if somebody's wanting something that's super active, you have the colubrids: corns, kings, milks, bulls, pines, indigos, gophers, whatever. Okay, but they're gonna be going. They're active a lot, and then they finally settle down, right?
Yeah.
So the colubrids like having a 5-year-old, the ball python's like having a 35-year-old or older, right? So we call them pet rocks. So it really bases off of that individual person's what they want. If they want something that's more active, or if they want something they can just sit and kind of cuddle or cradle with, kind of concept.
Right. So we get the one question that we get the most is, what's the best first hop? And some people say, well, it's one for which you can get anti-venom that's near you. Others say it depends on the disposition of the snake.
So there's three: the false water cobra, the copperhead, or the eyelash viper.
Well, the false water cobra is rear fanged. Is that something that would really train you for venomous?
So
should they have? I'm sorry. Should they have a rear fang like a mangrove?
So here's what I'll say: the only thing that will train you for venomous is venomous.
Right.
But a black racer will work with you. It will get you started with cobras, with the lapids. Water snakes will get you started with cottonmouths and with certain rattlesnake species, okay, because they're similar. But because I look at this, if somebody's going to start with a hot, okay, I want to know toxicity level. Well, I mean, obviously I know toxicity levels, but I want to know toxicity level. So the toxicity
is that the
level,
LD?
The LD, right. Eyelash vipers are not going to kill anybody. Copperheads are not going to kill anybody.
And they're beautiful.
Exactly.
Right.
And the false water cobras.
And squams?
Squams are another one. Squams are another one, absolutely.
Right.
So you need to think on the line of, now here I tell folks just start with a copperhead because everybody and their mother has crowfat, okay?
Right.
So if you get hit by one, and a lot of folks, and I don't promote any, the illegal stuff, but a lot of folks have copperheads or something in a county where they're not supposed to have it in.
Right.
Well, if you hit in North Carolina and you're in a county that already has copperheads, you get hit by a copperhead, oh, well, I just got bit outside, whatever.
Right.
You don't necessarily have to out yourself that you had something you weren't supposed to have. Again, I'm not encouraging people to go have them, but at the same time, we have to look at it. You're going to have to look at expense. It could be anywhere from $60,000 to $80,000 in any event.
Oh, or a lot more.
Or more,
right?
And that's just in the end event. So, and a lot of insurances will not cover that kind of stuff.
Right. All right. Well, let me just say thank you for talking with us. We appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your expertise and everything. And so if you guys are here, Reptile Museum and Medical Center. So make it a point, come down, especially if you're in North Carolina. It's well worth it, and you'll see some really beautiful animals. We just showed you mostly the venomous and the snakes. He's got tons of other things, all sorts of crocodilians and so on. So make it a point, come down. Thanks again, Chad.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. That was nice.